It's back to reality. Another Bathurst 1000 has been run and won. This time it was Brodie Kostecki and Todd Hazelwood taking the spoils. Now, as I've done what feels like 50 videos in the last week, there's no real news to cover off. This is just a pure race review. So the big talking points over the day, reliability coming in. Everyone thought all the Mustangs are going to break down. There's question marks over the Chev engines and all that. Nope, no one broke down. It took until lap 132 for Matt Payne to hit the wall for there to be a first retirement. And that was the one and only retirement. So that did end up being the fastest race ever and the least amount of retirements ever, which is quite impressive. And thinking in the lead up, I'd even predicted that we were going to have lots and lots of safety cars. A lot of guys were going to crash during the day. It was going to be a very drawn out race in that respect. In the end, it was the total opposite. Now, a lot of people I've seen already online, I try not to get too involved in it because it just drags you down. Oh my God, that race was boring, parody kind of thing. I quite enjoyed it. You got to see, granted, it was only two guys, and, you know, Brodie and Todd, they basically led start to finish. They only lost that lead during pit stop sequences. There was no passing for the lead or anything like that during the day. But to me, that was the two top teams of the day, we'll say, going hammer and tongs all day. So you had, Erebus, 888, Erebus, basically the whole day. They were just going flat out. There was no chinks in the armour. Pit stops and everything were perfect. That's what I got really excited about with the race. So yeah, it is very easy to look at the negative, like, oh, there was no passing for the lead. There was no big crashes, there was only one safety car, all of that stuff where we need bang, bang, bang action. But for me, it was that kind of, that tension all day where one tiny mistake was what was going to throw that whole race out for someone. Neither of them made that mistake all day. They were just, lap after lap, it was kind of qualifying laps all day. So to me, I actually quite enjoyed the race. I can see why other people didn't, but for me, it won't go down in history as being, one of the most awesome Bathursts ever, but to me, it's a real classic race because it was that all day, all out battle, which sometimes, that's better than, and it wasn't like last year where they were just doing tyre economy runs. This was everyone absolutely flat out for the whole, 5 hours, 50 something. We can't even say that 6 hours. There were a lot of close calls during the day. We did see quite a few guys having little lockups running off. But as I said, we were expecting a lot of crashes and that today. No, it wasn't like that. And a big thing that really got to me was the courtesy of some of the drivers being lapped. So, you don't just want to move over and roll over, let everyone pass. But there was one particular incident where, we'll get into it later, someone really seemed to be blocked, and it wasn't even like it was for the fourth place car was coming through. It's not even like they were trying to stop the leader from coming through to stay on the lead lap. They'd already been lapped. It was a fourth place car and there was hard blocking. It was Tim Slade on Jack LeBrock. I don't know if something had happened earlier on during the day or there's some beef there, but it just seemed unnecessary. And there seemed to be a bit of blocking going on during the day, which is, a bit unnecessary and a bit unsportsmanlike. And the last little one was, I was quite surprised with the co-drivers double stinting early. There was quite a few, obviously Feeney Whincup was probably the biggest name one to do it, but where the main driver got out after, say, the first 30 laps, then the co-driver did all of their laps, and then the main driver got in for the run to the flag. I would have thought, and that maybe played a little bit towards the end, that Brodie was that little bit fresher because Todd had done two different stints. So yes, you get your main driver in a lot later, but with the fuel flow on that, you could do the driver swaps without being too concerned about, the pit time and things like that. But also then it keeps the main driver a little bit fresher. They're still doing a massive stint at the end of the day, but you're not throwing in that extra stint. It does give them a little bit more of a break. So I was surprised that so many people went for that strategy. Now it's time to run through all the teams in reverse championship order. So some of the championship order moved around over the weekend as well. But kicking it off, we've got the Wildcards. The 118 of Charter and Vaughan started 26th, finished 25th. Yeah, Matt was having a fairly decent opening stint in the car. He was actually running ahead of a couple of the full-time drivers. He did end up blowing the tyres off the car and ran off the track 2 laps in a row. They learnt from that, I suppose. Vaughan misjudged how quickly Mostert was coming through to lap him, turned in at Forest Elbow. They got punted off, lost the front bar off the car, went back to the pits. I think it was 12 laps they lost while they were fixing that up. And then it was just basically driving around to finish the day. They were the last of the finishers, not surprisingly. But they did a good job. They got to the end. They weren't really out of place. Like, they had pace during the weekend. It's not like they were a distant last or anything like that. I think they did a very solid job. Well done, guys. The other wildcard, the 888 of Lowndes and Cooper Murray, started 18th, finished 14th. Whew, did these guys have some pace? If the qualifying was very poor from Cooper in comparison to their race pace. They were charging through the field. Lowndes had a lock-up into Hell Corner on lap 97, which did lose them some spots. But the big issue was Cooper Murray taking 31 seconds to get down to the speed limit during the VSC, and that meant that they had to do a drive-through. They dropped down from 7th in the running at that point, right down to the back of the pack. But they had the pace and they were moving forward through the field. They were having a really good day, other than those couple of little things, but it is a wild card. It's not a full-time entry. Blanchard Racing Team, back to last in the Teams Championship. The number 3, Love and Cameron, the Aarons, started 20th, finished 23rd. Love made it through the race without hitting the wall. The only notes I have on these guys is that Cameron had a big lock-up into turn 1, didn't actually end up running off the track. Judging by their teammates, Courtney Perkins started 23rd, finished 21st. Their day started with a broken gearbox in the warm-up. They just totally missed the warm-up. Courtney was actually running behind Matt Charter for the opening kind of stint of the race. I think it took him about 13 laps to get past. Both cars, just no pace all day. What else do you say about it? Brad Jones Racing. The big hope from these guys, Heimgartner and Fraser, started 10th, finished 16th. So Declan's day started off finding out that where he's living burnt down, so all his possessions amounted to whatever he had with him at Bathurst. Everything gone. That would suck. I've packed and gone on holidays, and you think, I've nearly got all my clothes in this suitcase. If this suitcase goes missing, what do I do for clothes kind of thing? But then thinking, if you lost all your possessions at home, that would be absolutely terrible. And didn't really get any better. Jaime lost a lot of spots off the start, didn't get a great start, and then they had to do an early stop, an extra stop really early on. They had a refueling issue with the car, so they didn't get enough fuel in at the first stop, and then they just didn't really seem to have any pace, and that runs through the rest of the team. Ford and Robotham started 21st, 24th, finished 22nd. Fully expected these guys just to drive forward through the field, finish somewhere in the top 10. No, there was no pace. Evans and Fiore started 16th, not a bad qualifying session, finished 20th. Anonymous. I don't even know if anything went wrong. Didn't really see that car all day. There's just no pace. And the standout of the team, Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boys, started 17th, finished 13th. Now, you're getting excited about a BJR car finishing 13th in the great race. That shows you the overall day that the team had. Team 18. Winterbottom and Crusoe started 22nd, finished 18th. This anonymous entry, the only notes I have on these guys is that Crusoe had no drinks during his stint. Not sure if that affected Frosty too, or if it's just that Crusoe wasn't plugged in properly. Reynolds and Luft started 21st, finished 24th. Obviously during practice, Luffy had that amazing spin at the dipper where he didn't hit anything, and then Dave tried to double up on it and trashed the car. That's, I don't know, because they had a lot of pace until that point, and then they just seemed to be on the back foot after that. They fell short on fuel at the end as well. Who's going to get fired this year? Next up is Erebus. It seems ridiculous talking about these guys at this point. But this is where they are in the championship. So they have actually moved forward after these results on the weekend. Broc and Ojeda started 6th, finished 8th. These guys were running up the front all day. It was basically Erebus versus Triple Eight. These guys were 4th. They lost a heap of spots during the safety car period. I'm not exactly sure why, but they did for some reason. I don't understand with the VSC and everything, but yeah, these things happen. They didn't recover from that. They then stayed in their 8th position. Ojeda, easily one of the best co-drivers out there, really, just outstanding job. If he does it, he's got to have already been offered a co-drive for next year. If not, there is something wrong there. And then in the number 1 car, the men of the moment, Brodie, Kostecki, Todd, Hazelwood, started 1st, finished 1st. The biggest blot on their copybook all weekend, I think, was Brodie tapping the wall during the qualifying session, which did mean that he'd slightly bent the steering on it, I think it was, that they didn't get fixed. So he essentially didn't get to go and do a full-on qualifying lap, or else they probably would have been 1st in qualifying as well as taking the pole out as well. Basically the perfect day. They only lost the lead during pit sequences. They never actually got passed for 1st. It was only because other people were stopping slightly out of sequence. The only concern, I suppose, they had that second last stint. Feeney had brought the lead down from 12 seconds to about 4 seconds when the safety car came out. But yeah, George tweaked her up and off she went. And after a few laps in that last stint, thought really it's going to take a mistake from Brodie for Feeney to get past him. He just looked very strong. And I suppose to just sum up how perfect the day was, apparently the low fuel light came on as it crossed the finish line. So even there, they were low on fuel, but not that low that it was a worry. Premier Air Racing. Tim Slade and Cam McLeod started 25th, finished 19th. I've already spoken about this a bit. So Slade heavily blocking LeBroc for no reason. I don't know, but yeah. Other than that, were these guys even in the race? 31, Golding and Russell started 11th, finished 6th. The Silent Assassins. I was expecting them to have a bit more pace in the fight, but really when you look at the guys in front of them, they did a bloody good job. It was really, really top guys. It's not like we had a lot of retirements or anything, and that's where you kind of get your podium. They should be happy with that 6th position, considering that the team's still kind of young and they're still gelling and everything. They can build off this. Matt Stone Racing. So Twin Cam started 12th, finished 10th. Percat and O'Keefe started 13th, finished 17th. Disappointing. Losing both cars in the co-driver session on Friday kind of put them on the back foot. The qualifying speed, considering the damage, was impressive, but then you kind of, even if you put them a couple of positions up with, if the cars weren't damaged, that probably would have put both cars in the top 10, which would have put them more in the fight. It did seem, though, once they were running nose to tail at the start of the race, then the co-drivers got in and they dropped back, still running nose to tail. Then, yeah, the main drivers got back in, came back out. Percat had that issue where the door popped open. It looked like it just wasn't shut properly, whether it had popped open or not. But, yeah, all I was thinking was whoever was shutting the door, were you born in a tent? Like, leaving it open. Yeah, shades of my father with people leaving the doors open around the house. Yeah, they never recovered from having that extra stop to shut the door. Twin Cam sneaking in the top 10. So it was a good result overall, especially when you consider that there was only one retirement. Grove Racing, yeah, so much potential unfulfilled with these guys. I fully thought, especially early in the day, that both of these guys were going to be challenging for the win. But Payne and Tander started 7th, the only D and F in the race. Where it started to derail, I think, a little bit, Payne running off during the warm-up through the chase and boof, 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 through the sand. Yep, that didn't look good. They had lots of speed in the car. They were looking really good. Tander was trying to pass Lee Holdsworth for 4th position on the road, had that lock up and ran off. That put them kind of behind the 8 ball, and then they were fighting back, but they had the pace to fight back. They were getting themselves back in that conversation. Yeah, and then Payne, sorry guys, it just wouldn't downshift into the wall. As for the sister car, Stanaway and Wood started 4th, finished 9th. They were just solid all day. They never seemed to have that outright pace to crack into the top guys. Apparently they ran out of fuel on the last lap, hence the 9th place finish. Dick Johnson Racing. Di Pasquale and D'Alberto started 8th, finished 7th. Davison and Allen started 14th, finished 12th. Obviously it was a very messy run in for the 17th, with Davison trashing the car during qualifying, and then Allen having 2 big shunts during Super 2 over the weekend. Allen seemed to regroup, and he actually had a pretty strong race in the end. I think he, asserted himself well against the co-drivers. D'Alberto, once again, really good job. These guys, both cars, seem to have pace, but just not enough to challenge the front runners. Really, yeah, that back half of the top 10 is the best that they could have hoped for. And one of them did get in there. Davison, he did get himself a 5-second penalty for pushing Dale Wood off at the chase early on in the race. But yeah, it's not like, it's not like they were going to go for the win with the pace that they had. Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Wood and Coulthard started 15th, finished 15th. So nothing happened all day, I suppose. Woody was one of the few main drivers to stay in after that first stint. Everyone but the Team 18 guys and Ryan Wood jumped out of the car after that first stint and chucked the co-drivers in. He stayed in a bit longer, and then so I think Fabs did a double stint to then hand over at kind of a similar-ish time to when, say Todd Hazelwood and that were getting out of the car. Not a bad idea. Woody did run into the tyre barrier coming into the pit lane for that first stop. Didn't do a lot of damage. It just I think it looked a lot worse than what it was, just kind of dragged the car down that tyre barrier, so he had a lot of yellow down the side of the car. They had some radio issues with that car as well. They had the old school pit board hanging out, giving him instructions. He was running inside the top 10 really late in the race, but had a run off on lap 143 at turn 1. That dropped him back, and no recovery. They had pace, but not enough to really fight back, especially that late in the day. Number 25, Mostert and Holdsworth started 9th, finished 5th. Really close call there, passing Brad Vaughan early on. That could have ended in disaster, but everything seemed to be A-OK. They just seemed to be fighting back all day from that bad qualifying. They had pace. If they'd qualified in the top 3, could they have run with the top guys? Probably not. So, a 5th at the end of the day is probably not too bad in the end. Tickford Racing, Cam Waters and James Moffat started second, finished fourth. Much like the 25, they had lots of pace, but not enough for the, they weren't going to challenge Triple Eight or Erebus today. They were battling cool suit issues all day, which probably didn't help. And Waters had an early lockup and ran off the road, which they were fighting back from that. I think also they were the only car to go through the race without doing a brake pad change. Well, I don't think that would have made a big difference in the end. They just didn't have. Fourth is actually a really good result considering the pace they had. They were the best of the rest today. Randall and Everingham started 19th, finished 11th. And anonymous, I didn't actually write any notes on them, so obviously nothing went wrong, but they didn't have enough pace to actually get themselves inside the top 10, which I'm a little bit disappointed because I thought Randall was going to actually qualify really well. He looked quite strong during the week. Everingham had looked quite strong as well. I thought they were going to pose a bit more of a challenge, but here we are. And now for the winners of the Teams Championship. So, they've wrapped up the Teams Championship this weekend. Anyway, the second and third, not a bad weekend. So, Brown and Pye started fifth, finished third. Were there lingering issues from Pye damaging the car on Thursday afternoon? It didn't seem like it, but they didn't have the pace of the sister car all day. I fully expected, in a lot of races this year, Feeney's qualified better and then Pye's raced better. And I fully expected that to happen today. The race would come to them. It just didn't seem to come to them. The gap before the safety car was epic. And then we had the safety car and I thought, okay, this is on. They'll be in this fight. And no, they just didn't. Were they collecting points more than challenging for the win, knowing that you probably had to risk it all to go for the win, whereas it's like, well, we finished third, we extend our championship lead. Brown is looking really strong in the championship, but I was expecting more. I fully expected that these guys were going to be going for the win. The number 88, Broc, Feeney and Jamie Whincup, started third, finished second. So close, yet so far. Early on, they didn't have the pace of the number one. They were close, but Brodie and then Todd, they just eked that gap out. They got it out to about 12, 13 seconds, which, considering how long they've been running 130 laps before anything, to say, they'd eked out a big gap over that much of the day. It was probably over the first 100 laps, and then that second last stint, Broc had actually brought it down to about 4 seconds, and it was, this is on. Then, obviously, the safety car happened. They did their tweaks in the pits, and Brodie seemed to be okay after that. It did look like Broc was going to pose a challenge those first few laps after the safety car went away. But in the end, I think Brodie had him fairly covered as long as he didn't make a mistake. As I said, so close yet so far. It was a really good effort, but at Bathurst, second is the first of the losers. So, you guys, unfortunately, are the first of the losers this year, and it's going to hurt until Broc gets that win, I suppose. At least Jamie's had 4, but for Broc, you're so close you can nearly taste it. I suppose a bit like Dave Reynolds back in, I think it was 2012. Broc will win one day, just give it time. Now, if you've hung around this long, thank you very much and well done. You deserve a prize. But there's only one person who gets to win one of these Supercars Talk mugs from the tipping competition. Just first up, only one person picked Kostecki and Hazelwood for the win, but unfortunately for Paul Alvaro, I think I pronounced that right, that was the only one that you got correct out of the the top 5. So a special mention, because you did tip the winner, which no one else did, which I think that's the first time I've been doing this for a few years now. I think that's the first time only one person has predicted the winner. Anyway, the winner had 3 positions correct in the top 5, was Colin Cannings with Feeney in 2nd, Brown in 3rd, and Mostert in 5th. He also had Kostecki down for 4th, so he had 4 out of the 5. Did pick the 888 Wildcard for the win, which is a little bit disappointing, but the winner went to the most in the correct position and 3 in the correct position won. So, Colin, can you please drop me an email? It'll be down here very soon. And with your address, I'll run through which mugs are available as well. And I'll post one out to you. But I hope everyone enjoyed the race as much as I did. As I said, it probably wasn't for everyone because it wasn't balls to the wall action every lap. But I really enjoy those, hardcore, like it wasn't even massive strategy, but it's just watching guys at the absolute peak of their powers, like, watching Brodie, he is a master, and yeah, they just lap after lap after lap, and it's not like Todd, Jamie, absolutely brilliant. Scott Pye didn't put a foot wrong. Jaden Ojeda, Jack Broc, they were right on it. Like just watching all those guys absolutely flat out lap after lap. I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, down in the comments, let me know what you think. Congratulations to the winners, Brodie Kostecki, Todd Hazelwood, and Colin Cannings. Until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.